You're scrolling through your phone, minding your own business when a picture stops your thumb cold. You do not decide to look, you just look. And for a split second, before your brain catches up with your manners, you're staring at a chest or a butt like it just personally challenged you to a duel. Relax, you're not a pervert, you're a primate with very old software running on a very new phone. And before anyone gets defensive, this is not a one-gender situation. Study after study shows people of pretty much every orientation do some version of this rapid, involuntary body scanning. The targets differ from person to person, the underlying instinct does not. So no, you're not uniquely shallow, you're just uniquely honest about noticing it out loud. Here's the strange part, nobody tells you at school that instinctive stare is not really about sex at all. At least not directly. It is about information. Your brain is reading a body the way a banker reads a credit report, except the currency is not money, it is survival and reproduction, and the report was written by a few 100,000 years of evolution. Let's start with the butt, because everyone is thinking about it anyway. Researchers who study human attraction, including psychologist Devendra Singh back in the 1990s, noticed something odd. Across wildly different cultures, with wildly different beauty standards, one measurement kept showing up as attractive again and again: the ratio between waist and hips, not the size, the ratio. A smaller waist paired with wider hips creates a shape your brain associates, whether you like it or not, with fertility and healthy hormone levels. Estrogen literally directs fat to the hips and thighs, while testosterone pushes it toward the belly. So when your eyes lock onto that shape, you're not being shallow, you're unconsciously reading a hormonal signature. Your ancestors who found that shape appealing had on average more surviving descendants. You are quite literally descended from people who could not stop staring. Kind of embarrassing when you put it that way. Your great-great-great-grandfather was out here getting distracted exactly like you. Now let's talk about chests, because your brain treats them almost like a completely separate advertisement. Breasts are unusual in the animal kingdom. Most female mammals only develop them temporarily, while nursing, human breasts stay present all the time, whether or not a woman is pregnant or breastfeeding. That is genuinely strange from a biological standpoint, and scientists still debate exactly why it evolved that way. One leading idea, sometimes tied to research from biologists like Frank Marlowe, is that permanent breasts became an honest signal. A kind of built-in advertisement for youth, fat reserves, and reproductive potential, at a time when there was no other easy way to broadcast that information. Fat stores meant a woman had enough resources to survive pregnancy and nurse an infant through hard times. In a world without supermarkets or refrigerators, that mattered a lot. There's also a simpler theory floating around, which is that breasts became attractive partly through a feedback loop once a trait starts getting noticed and preferred even a little. It can snowball. Preference shapes selection, selection reinforces preference. It becomes a bit of a runaway train. And here you are, thousands of generations later, holding the ticket. So both features work like billboards. Your brain evolved to read instantly without asking permission first. That is why the reaction feels involuntary, because it basically is, but here's where it gets a little more complicated and a little more human. If this were only about biology, everyone on Earth would find the exact same body type attractive. They do not. Preferences shift depending on culture, personal history, and even how much food is available in a given place and time. There is actual research on this. Some studies suggest that in cultures or eras with more food scarcity, fuller body shapes tend to be rated as more attractive, likely because they visually signal resources and stability. In wealthier or more food abundant societies, preferences can shift towards slimmer builds, sometimes because slimness starts to signal something else entirely, like access to leisure time, fitness culture, or higher status. Your ancestors were not just responding to fertility cues, they were responding to whatever counted as evidence of health and security in their specific environment. Which means your particular taste, the specific things that make your head turn, are shaped by a strange cocktail of deep evolutionary programming and the very particular time and place you happen to grow up in. Nature hands you the wiring, your culture wires the light switch. There is even evidence this preference gets calibrated surprisingly early. Some research on infants suggests babies look longer at faces adults rate as attractive long before they understand anything about dating or beauty standards. That does not mean toddlers are silently judging waistlines. It means some baseline appreciation for symmetry and proportion may be wired in early, and culture spends the next couple decades layering opinions on top of it, like decorating a house that already had a foundation poured before you moved in. There's also a psychological twist worth mentioning. A lot of what your brain finds attractive is not really about the body part in isolation. It is about symmetry, proportion, and contrast. A smaller waist looks smaller specifically because it is next to wider hips. a chest looks a certain way specifically because of how it relates to shoulder width and posture. Your brain is not a camera taking a snapshot of one area. It is running a proportional analysis on the whole shape in about the time it takes to blink, and then quietly reporting back, yes, please, before your conscious mind is even in the room. This is also why very few people can accurately explain why they find someone attractive. You're not lying when you say, I don't know, I just do. Most of that judgment is happening below conscious awareness in older, faster parts of the brain that evolved long before language did. Your rational mind basically just shows up afterward to write the press release. It is a bit like your brain is a very fast, very unbothered intern. It looks at a shape, cross-references a few 100,000 years of ancestral data, files a one-word report that just says yes, and then clocks out before your conscious mind even walks into the office. You're left standing there a second later, blinking, trying to reverse engineer a decision that already happened without you. Here's the modern mirror, and it is a little uncomfortable. We now live surrounded by algorithms and advertising that have figured out exactly how to exploit this ancient wiring. Certain camera angles, certain outfits, certain filters, certain poses, all specifically engineered to trigger the waist to hip signal or the chest signal harder and faster than nature ever intended. Your instincts were built for a world with no filters and no push notifications. They are now operating inside a world designed by people who studied exactly what makes your eyes stop scrolling. It is a bit like giving a smoke detector to a species that also invented incense. The alarm still works, it is just going off constantly, for reasons that have nothing to do with actual fire. Marketers know this, photographers know this, entire industries have been quietly built around it, from lingerie ads to gym selfies angled just right. None of it is new information to your instincts. It is just a much louder, much more constant version of the signals your brain was originally designed to notice a few times a season, not several hundred times a day. So the next time you catch yourself staring and then feel weirdly guilty about it, you can relax a little, you're not broken, and you're not shallow. You're running an ancient recognition system that used to help your ancestors choose mates who were more likely to survive childbirth, nurse healthy children, and pass their genes forward. The system does not know about smartphones, filters, or influencer marketing. It just knows shapes, ratios, and signals, and it reacts before you even get a vote. Your attraction is not really about a chest or a butt. It is about a few 100,000 years of biological bookkeeping, quietly running in the background of your skull, still trying to help you find a good partner in a world that no longer looks anything like the one it was built for, which honestly might be the most awkwardly honest compliment your body has ever paid you.